got a question here from Sharath. So Sharath's asking about rental pricing. Seems to be slowing down. What effect is this going to have on prices? So I'll pull this graph up firstly. You got one here from CoreLogic. So for those of you maybe who haven't been actively following the data side on the rental side of the market, maybe we say kind of prior to COVID, we've really gone through quite an aggressive rental increase over this period of time. So we saw some double-digit levels. You can see here, you can't really see, oh, you can see my mouse, there we go. Some double-digit levels happening across most cities across that COVID period of time. Home builds slowing down, a lot of people coming back to Australia. Saw vacancy rates, vacancy rates kind of historically floated around that kind of 3 to 2.5%. And in some capital cities, particularly Queensland and WA, which, they had probably some of the most relaxed, you could live your life, I guess, as per normal during COVID. They saw a lot of people kind of flood into those states. Their vacancy rates got absolutely obliterated. And I mean, typically speaking, when you have seen vacancy rates compress, you'll normally then see that have a flow-on effect into higher rentals. Those higher rental pricing then starts to turn people living in an area into buyers, because all of a sudden, if you've got a property and it was costing you $400 a week, you've had a couple of years in a row where you've had large rental increases, and you may be thinking, oh, well, crap, this is starting to get quite costly. I think I can go to the bank, go get a loan, and maybe just have a mortgage and own this property. So it starts to turn renters into buyers. Now, I guess there's been a few reasons why you've seen large rental increases as well. So over that COVID kind of spike and onwards, you've had crazy low vacancy rates, terribly low housing approvals and completions of homes come through, just adding to that pressure. And then the other thing to keep in mind with that is, as well as we went from essentially interest rates of 0%, and they're now at higher levels than what they were used to. So renters will typically feel that flow and effect when there is interest rate rises. So we've seen interest rate rises. We've gone now essentially 12 months without an interest rate hike. And it's no coincidence to me that we're starting to see a slowdown on that rental pressure as well, because vacancy rates are still super tight. They're kind of hovering between about 0.8 to 1.2% in most states, which is still extremely tight. But landlords in general aren't, not all of them, but in general, they're not extortionists. I think you'll find that most people are just trying to cover, majority of their cost base. So if they're getting hit with those interest rate rises, unfortunately, and you've got demand, that's the other thing as well. So it's different if vacancy rates are high and you can't pass on those rising costs. But in this instance, vacancy rates are super tight, so those costs have had a flow-on effect down to renters. Now we've gone through 12 months of stability on the interest rate front, and we're seeing now that we've basically had a 5% year. Even places like Perth and Adelaide, which were having 20, 30% rental increases, and Queensland was in there. Queensland slowed down a little bit earlier, but they're back down to single digit levels, and I would anticipate that to kind of still come down a little bit more next year, because if we are getting the rate cuts that we all hope that we get, or I guess most people would hope that we get, there's not that need to claw back the rising costs. So, I mean, in general, now the difference from prior years, if you were saying, well, hey, rents are decreasing or stabilizing, is that going to lead to the lax of pressure on the renting side? Well, no, because we still have chronic undersupply. So it's just that you won't have landlords trying to press down and really kind of claw their costs back. The undersupply on the places to live is just still not there. It's not easing back anytime soon. So that'll be covered off in another slide shortly. But I hope that makes sense. And thanks for flicking that question in.